Today we're going to be talking to Mr. Rob Gillette, who works with Stoll's Air Technology Systems in Frederick, Maryland. He's going to be sharing some key concepts of communication in the business world. So Rob, what are the best practices when speaking with new customers or stakeholders over the phone?
So there's several things that you can do to prepare for a phone type conversation, and probably the most important one is treat the phone call as if it is a face-to-face meeting, right? So you want to eliminate all your distractions. You want to make sure that you're not typing away on a keyboard, or you don't have any music playing in the background, that kind of stuff. You want to, as if you're in a one-on-one discussion with that particular person, because that's important, right? The other thing that most people overlook with regards to a phone conversation is their personal body language, right? You have to put your body in the right mind frame or the right set to have a conversation with somebody. So if you're slouching or kind of overly relaxed, you're not really going to be tuned into the conversation. So you want to sit upright and be attentive and make sure that you're treating that person as if they are physically in front of you. Other things that I would say is, since it's somebody new that you may not know, it's a new customer, a new stakeholder, is start the conversation off with a topic of mutual interest. Maybe you read a press release about something that their company is doing, and you can. It's not really the topic you're discussing, but you can open it up that way, kind of break the ice a little bit, and get a conversation going that might kind of set the right tone, so that particularly if you're in a sales position and you're trying to reach out to a potential new client, you want to make sure that you start off the conversation with ease. The number one practice for any communication is to listen more than you speak. I think that's crucial, and it's also a skill that a lot of people overlook because we tend to want to speak to somebody about something because we have something to tell them. But in the business world, I think it's more important that you listen and you understand what it is they're trying to tell you before you try and engage with them. I mentioned earlier about making sure that you're avoiding distractions such as typing. Typing on a keyboard, especially over a speakerphone or something on those lines, you can hear that clicking very easily. I know that I've been on the other end of someone who's been typing away on a keyboard, and it's very distracting, and it's almost off-putting, and to where I kind of feel that the person doesn't respect my time enough to not be checking email while we're having a conversation. I would also recommend using a hands-free device, which is different than a speakerphone. So a speakerphone can be difficult to hear. So in lieu of a speakerphone, use a hands-free device, headset, whether it be wired or wireless. Either one is fine for a phone conversation. But you want to make sure that you're able to have, that you can hear them clearly, and they're able to hear you clearly, particularly if you're on a cell phone or something. Like most of us nowadays use cell phones to communicate regularly. It can be difficult to hear somebody with a speakerphone on a cell phone. And then the last thing I would say is make sure you're in a quiet environment. No one wants to hear the local barista yelling out for Jane to pick up her double shot no whip caramel mocha latte while you're trying to have an important business conversation. So like I said, treat it as if it is a face-to-face meeting and put yourself in the right environment and the right mindset.
Okay, so speaking of face-to-face meetings, what are the best practices for a face-to-face meeting with customers and stakeholders?
I had someone once tell me, and you've probably heard it many times yourself, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And that very first interaction, within the first 10 to 30 seconds of a person meeting you for the very first time face-to-face, their entire impression of who you are will be formulated. And that baseline, it's very difficult to change that initial impression. So most importantly, you want to dress to impress, okay? But you don't want to embarrass yourself. So make sure you know what the appropriate attire is, right? You don't want to show up in a tuxedo for a pool party, right? It just doesn't make sense, right? So know what the appropriate attire is and dress to that. If you're not sure or you're in doubt, wear a business suit, okay? When in doubt, you're better off overdressing than underdressing. And a business suit today, even though it's more of a casual work environment, you'll never be in error if you show up at a business meeting in a business suit. Also, avoid wearing heavy amounts of strong scented perfumes or colognes can be very distracting. You wanna look nice, but keep the bling to a minimum, so to speak. You don't need a whole bunch of flashy jewelry and that kind of thing. It'd be distracting. You don't want your appearance to be that one thing they talk about when the meeting is over, right? You want the topic of your conversation to be important. Avoid commenting on the other person's appearance. Okay, so everybody, is in the same position that you're in because it's the first time you're meeting, so they're having the exact same anxieties about meeting you that you're having about meeting them. So, it's your best bet is to not comment on appearance. Remember, it's a business meeting. It's not your first date, right? So you don't need to tell them how nice they look. Body language, body language, body language. Can't stress it enough. How you present yourself will speak more about you than the words that you use. Like Maya Angelou once said that, I'll forget what you've told me, but I'll never forget how you made me feel. And that's appearance and body language is part of that. If I feel that you're disconnected or that you're ignoring me or off-putting or not interested in what I have to offer, I'm going to remember that. So make sure that you're mindful of that. Again, listen more than you speak, right? Very important that you're hearing what they're talking about more so than imparting your own thoughts. Distractions again are another killer when it comes to face-to-face meetings, right? Your cell phone, turn it off, leave it in the car. Even having it on vibrate is a distraction. If it starts buzzing and you're reaching to stop the buzz or anything like that, or it's really off-putting and it's very distracting. And again, try and set the right area for the conversation. Oftentimes, some of these meetings are over a meal, whether it be lunch or a dinner meeting. Avoid alcohol or caffeine in those situations. Drink water, soft drinks, sugar-free, caffeine-free soft drinks. You don't need the caffeine or alcohol that kind of clouding up your thought process. You want to be clear of mind. So just stick to water or decaf coffee or something like that especially on the first meeting till you get to know each other a little bit. And try to avoid taking notes, right? It's kind of a distraction, right? You're there to talk to somebody. I mean, sometimes you will because you don't want to miss a key point, but the first thing you do when you sit down is open up your notebook and start jotting things down. Like you haven't had a conversation yet and you're already distracted. So those are some of the things that I would recommend for business meeting with a new customer.